Hello class, this is a video tutorial on understanding column graphs. Essentially, a column graph is a way to represent data. There are a few rules that you have to understand in order to properly construct one from data. So along the horizontal axis, we will place the discrete numerical or categorical data, which also another name for it is nominal. Each column is the same width and evenly spaced, so generally we want everything to be neat. Columns are separated to indicate no relation to each other, okay, because that's for categorical data and some discrete scores. And columns are joined for consecutive discrete numbers or moments in time. And finally, along the vertical axes, we have the vertical axis has a scale number line to indicate the frequency of each category in its height, by its height. So I'm going to just quickly demonstrate that with this one here. I've pre-prepared my markings here just to indicate to you how I'm going to draw it. So here we have, take for example, the different brands of air conditioners sold. So we have LG's, Daikin, Samsung, and Hitachi, and Panasonic. Just made this up really. And what I like to do first is I want to make my my columns. So each of these, between one tall and one short, that's going to be one column. And I made one space in between them because these are categorical data, and since they are categorical, they have no relation to one another. Okay, sure, they're all different brands of aircon, but we can't join them because they have no relation to each other. Unlike the number 1 and 2, there is numbers in between 1 and 2. Whereas LG and Daikin, there are no brands in between Daikin and LG. Okay, so I've made a gap of 0.5 centimeter, and I've made my columns 1 centimeter apart. And from the y-axis, I'm going to have another 0.5 centimeter here. From the horizontal axis, I'm going to have one more, just like that. I'm going to make my frequency along the side here. So I'm just gonna finally just join all this together. And if you're wondering how I did this, all I did was from 1 centimeter like this, 0.5 centimeter, made a big line, and then I made a small line a centimeter away, 0.5 centimeter, big line, moved it across, 1 centimeter, small line. Okay. Now, since this goes up to as high as 10, okay, since it's a nice even number of 10, I'm going to go up by 2's. Here we are. There we are. Going up by 2, so I'm going to mark it. Every centimeter is going to be 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, just to make it neat. I'll extend it just a bit further. Okay. And now I'm going to start labeling it from left to right. Along the bottom here, there should be the labels of each of these. Okay, each column we must label. So I'm just going to tilt it to the side here like this. I'm going to put a little underline like that along each of the columns. Okay. To indicate that that is where I'm going to put my labels. So for example, this first label is going to be LG. This is going to be Daikin. It's going to be Samsung. It's going to be Hitachi. And this one's going to be Panasonic. Okay, and finally, one final label that we need is along the bottom here. We need to indicate what are all these brands indicating. Well, these brands are indicating brand of aircon sold. Okay, so that there is our horizontal axis. Okay, and then along the side here we need to put our numbers. So we said it's going to go up by 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And along the side here, instead of putting, we could just put frequency like this, which won't be wrong. However, since it says here the number sold, which is essentially the frequency, we can just say that is the number sold. Okay, and then now let's start putting our columns in. Using this leftmost column, I'm going to line it up to our number. So LG had 10, so we line it up, and up we go. Same goes for this column here, because these two lines will make our column. So I'm going to, here we are. That's LG. So LG had 10. Daikin had 8. Put 8. Another way you can do it is just put a little thin line like this, indicating 8. And just match this to our 8. Make everything neat, clean everything up. Samsung with 4. Samsung's around about here. There we are. Samsung with 4. Hitachi with 7. Since there's no 7, we want to go right in between the 8 and the 6. So since they are a centimeter apart, we'll take this ½ centimeter in. And this will give us exactly where the 7 is. And finally, we have Panasonic with only 2. We have 2. Got a line there to indicate whereabouts it is, and we'll just join it down to the bottom. There we go. And this here indicates, so we've changed a frequency distribution table into a column graph. Oh, and just before I go, there's one last thing that we need. We need a heading for this whole. We need a heading to indicate what this graph is right at the top here. There must be a heading, so let's put a little heading here, and we'll label this as number of aircon sold by brand. Okay, that indicates the end of this video.